How you doing, everyone? So I took on this big project I found online, but the problem was when I was searching YouTube and other avenues to get some information, I couldn't find anything. So there's one video and it's on their website, but it doesn't really go into some details that I wanted to know before I started. This is the BrickWeb veneer brick wall project. So just wanted to show you guys exactly what you need for the job, and what you're going to need to get started, and some kind of tricks as you get going. So all right, I wanted to start the video from the beginning and kind of give you the progress, but obviously I got busy doing this and forgot to do that. So I'm going to add some before and afters and things like that. So this is a 18-foot wall. I went and bought this BrickWeb on the Lowe's website. I went into Lowe's and they ordered it for me and had it shipped to my house for 20 bucks. So it was a really good deal. But I'll give you a look at, here's the box. Kick this open. And this is what it looks like. 12 sheets on a fiberglass mat. And there's 5 sheets in here. Each one of these boxes will cover 8.7 square feet. And to get a measurement of what you need, you're going to take your wall and you're going to use the height footage and times it by the height footage and times it by the length. That'll give you your square footage that you'll need. So if your wall is 10 feet by 10 feet, that's 100 square footage. You're also going to take out any things you're not going to be bricking. So for instance, I have a fireplace here. I had to measure that square foot and take that out of the overall square footage. What they also recommend is you add 10% to whatever your calculation is to account for waste or if you mess up or whatever the case is. So that's it. I needed 260 square feet. So you take that 260 square feet, divide out 8.7 square feet that the one box will cover, and that'll give you how many boxes you need. In my case, I ordered 30 boxes. They are about 80, if you look online, they're anywhere from $71 to $83. I got a good deal on it. I got for 71 bucks per box. So yeah, do the math, it's expensive. But here are the main tools you're going to need to get this done. Obviously, you're going to need the brick, which was delivered to my house, like I said. You're going to need masonry tools. I got this trowel. Every trowel is different. This has the 1/4-inch spacings, so that's what I would recommend. And then you got just some other masonry tools. This is really helpful to load the back of this, and then you can kind of get it on the wall and then go over with this. You're also going to need an angle grinder. I picked up this Hitachi angle grinder at Menards for 45 bucks. But make sure you get a diamond blade for it. It's the only one that's going to be rated to cut brick and things like that. Obviously, you're going to want one of these. These are cheap, $2. But your most important tools that you're going to be working with for the majority of the time is going to be this thing, and this thing. So have those 3 things on you all the time. Obviously, you're going to be measuring, especially if you have to do any cuts or whatever the case is, a pencil so you can mark things off, and then a knife. So if you ever have to split up any of these bricks, which you will, say you're doing a piece that's only 5 inches thick. So I would have to cut this fiberglass lining and kind of separate this so I can lay these independently. You can use a razor blade, but a knife I found gets in between this a lot better than if you were to use a razor blade. They're a little thicker. So, use a crappy knife that you're not going to care about getting beat up or whatever the case is. And I've had to sharpen this 4 or 5 times since I started this project. Also, a level, as you're going through, you know, as you're doing this wall, you're going to be constantly doing a check and making sure everything's level. So you're just going to be going through and doing that. Some other recommendation that I would tell you, well, here, let me show you what to use. You're going to have to, beyond the brick, you're going to have to buy two different things. You're going to have to buy a mastic, which is what I have here. This mastic goes directly onto the wall. It's spread with this, and then you put your brick on. Now this is the process you see here. The mastic's on, you can kind of see it in between here. It's on the back of this wall. I mean, it sticks. I mean, once it dries, it's like concrete. I bought the premium mastic. It says mortar, but I bought the premium mastic. It was like 35 bucks for one of these tubs. You know, there's a lot of weight that's going on these walls. So I wanted to make sure I got a really good mastic. I wasn't going to skimp there. And another thing you're going to need is grout. You get type S grout. Type S, it just says that there's sand within that grout. And then you can also get a color preference. I got gray, so it's going to look like a real brick grout. And once this wall is all done, you go back with a grout bag and fill this all in, let it set up a little bit, and use a striker tool and strike it out, and makes, you know, gives you that finish look. So just to give you a trick, what I would always do, and I could verify this once I got started, you always want to start at the top and work your way down. In this case, I started at the top and went across. Okay. Now, due to the scaffolding I had to use for my brother-in-law, it's hard for me to move. I'm the only one doing it. So what I ended up doing is doing this half first, going down, moving the scaffolding, and coming back, and then going back over, and then working down. Now, there's a couple reasons why you're going to do this. One, when you're up there doing the mastic, you're going to drop it. It's just going to happen. All this is proof of that. It's going to come down. And what you don't want to do is drop any mastic on your finished product, right? So if you're working from the top down, you're going to drop it on the wall, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to cover it up anyway, and you're not going to see it. Okay, so that's the biggest reason to start from the top. The second reason is when you look back at this, if you make any mistakes in terms of the measurement's not right, you know, you're off by ½ inch on one side versus the other side. If you look at the top, you're going to notice if you're off, and like a brick is half the size over there, where it's a full size over there. You're going to notice it. So, but once you get this all the way down to the bottom, you're going to have furniture sitting in front of this. You're going to have other things sitting in front of it. So it's not going to be as noticeable from the bottom. So that's another reason to go from the top to the bottom. So when you put the brick up, top from bottom, also when you're doing your grout, you want to go top to bottom. So anyway, another big thing that I ran into when I was doing this was there was no clear instruction on how to account for your electrical switch plates. So I want to show you. So when you do this, you know, you have your switch plate behind here. You have your box, right? So when you put this brick out, obviously, you know, if you were to cut around this, that switch plate's going to sit recessed into the wall. Well, I wanted it to sit flush. So what I kind of figured out as I was going through was, if I brought these brick and kind of overlap them on top of this back electrical box in here, this has these little tabs on them, right? Now, what you do is, if you do overlap it, these tabs will sit over onto this brick, okay? What I'm going to have to do is get longer screws here to screw into this one right here, and this will eventually like plumb up and, you know, whatever. Now, when I put my switch plate on, it screws into here and here, and it will be flush with this wall. So it's going to look really nice. Now, We also had some speakers in this wall that I had to cut around. Obviously I couldn't do that. There was nothing there, I couldn't do that with this, so I did have to leave this kind of recessed into the wall. But it's still going to look okay because here's the covers for them, and they go on by magnets, so it's going to look you know, fine. It's going to this kind of pops it out a little bit so it doesn't look so out of place. But yeah, so my suggestion is, you know, you're going to have to get a place. I don't know if you're going to have to use scaffolding or whatever the case is. You may, I don't know. You might be just doing a smaller wall where you won't need to. Hopefully for your sake, you won't need to, because it's a pain in the ass. Moving material up here, and then, you know, these boards down here were up there, and moving material up there. It gets heavy, especially when you're trying to cut something around like a fireplace, and then it's not right, so you gotta climb down, recut it, and go back and forth. Another tip, and this might be the most important tip, is when you're putting these on, you definitely want to draw a lot of guidelines. Okay, so I have a guideline right here. I should have mentioned that in the other tool section, but I have a chalk line that I make. So these boards are, so one of these sheets is 10.5 inches wide. So I put them up at 2 at a time. So this is 2 sheets wide. So what you want to do is you want to measure, and you can kind of see my other line right there, that other red line under there. I don't know if you can see it. You can surely see it right there. But what you want to do is you measure 21 inches from the top, from your other line, all the way down to your second line. Okay? And that gives you basically color in the lines, and just make sure when you lay these, those 2 sheets are fitting in between these lines, in between those lines, and it's running parallel on that line. If I did it at 21 inches, you can do it maybe 21 1/4 or 21 1/2 if you want some thicker spacing in between the bricks. But at 21, you know, here's the top. That's enough spacing for me. I like that look, and I think when the grout's going to go in, it's going to look just fine. So that's another thing. You just kind of got to watch your kind of spaces, and you really can just do it by eye. And the nice thing about this project, if you do mess up and a brick's crooked, it's just going to add character. No one's really going to know it except for you, but it's going to look really good. So I think that's it. Obviously you're going to have a lot of trash, so make sure you have drop sheets and things like that. The biggest and the hardest thing about this job is, and what takes such a long time, is just all the prep work. You got to prep your station, you got to prep the bricks, you know, things like that. Another big thing that you want to do is have a cutting station, preferably outside. So right out there is where I cut most of this brick. I'll take the angle grinder out there and cut them off that table, and then right there is all kind of the scraps, if you will, of the project. Now keep those because they come in handy, and I'll tell you, if you have any, you know, like little bricks that you got to fill in beside a fireplace or around a speaker, all those little bricks came from that trash pile. So keep those, keep them. It will pay off eventually. Don't throw it away until the project's done. So that's it for now. I'll post this video on YouTube, and I hope it was helpful for those of you guys that are taking on this project. Give you a little more confidence than I had going into it. But if you have any questions, please comment, and I'll answer them the best to my ability. So I am not an expert. I have never done any masonry work in my life. So is this something that you can jump into and you know, do it well and make it look nice? Yes. BrickWeb has a really nice product. I've been really impressed with it. It's durable. I mean, it's real brick. It's, where does it say? Made in the USA, fast, simple. It's clay thin brick, and it's actually fire kiln brick, and it's heavy. So, some really good material. Really good stuff. So, anyway, guys, I'm sure I'll put a video or a picture of here when it's all complete. But it's awesome if you want to add that kind of rustic or industrial look to your home or office or whatever the case is. This is a really great way to do it, and it just looks really rich and just fantastic. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Have a good one, guys. Good luck. Alrighty, finished the BrickWeb project and just wanted to give you kind of the final recap of what it looks like, and I thought of a few more things I wanted to add, but here it is. So here's the final product. Got everything in, grouted the walls. It looks really good. Try to stand back, kind of see it. Zoom in. I really got lucky. So like I mentioned in the previous video, you really wanted that clean line at the top and then work down in case you had any imperfections. And a lot of that would be covered up by furniture. But I completely lucked out and my measurements were absolutely correct. And what you see over there is 1 inch at the bottom, and what you see on that side is 1 inch on the bottom. So that just goes to show if your measurements are right, everything else is going to be right. But there was a few other things that I thought of as I was doing this, and I didn't mention it to you guys. But the grout work, which I did it with a grout bag, and I went around every brick. You really want it almost the same consistency as the mastic, maybe a little wetter. So it's gonna be flushed through that bag really well. You're gonna want one of those bits that go on your drill with the big mixer. So it's about a 2 foot tall mixer blade that just fixes just like a drill bit on the end of your electric drill. That's going to be a lifesaver for this grout project. So make sure you get one of those, and make sure you're mixing them up in small batches. If you do it too big, it's clumpy and the consistency's not right, and you're going to have a hell of a time moving it through that grout bag. Also, let it set up for probably 20 or 30 minutes. The longer you let it set up, the better the outcome when you go ahead and strike it with your striker tool. It's just going to look a lot better, less mess, and it's just going to, and the whole purpose is to get that grout inside the cracks. You're not scraping it off so much as you're pushing it in the cracks. So it's going to just do a better job in that regard. The other thing is, if you want to, what I would do is you're using those mastic buckets, save them. If you have any extra ones, save them, because you got to mix your grout in something. You might as well reuse those. So those are my 2 cents. But it did come out really nice. Let's walk down here. Excuse the mess. Just got back from vacation. But this is what it kind of looks like from ground level. Also, when you put the mastic, or I'm sorry, the grout on, I used a little darker of a gray grout, but it does, and it will lighten up slightly. So this is kind of what it looks like. It will lighten up. So if you choose, so this is very consistent with the color that was on the actual grout bag. But you know, if you want to, this was like a silver pearl, I think that color is. So if you like that color, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they have it. It's a silver pearl, and you can do that. If you want a little lighter, which a lot of people may want, or darker, depending on what color of brick. This is, I didn't know if I mentioned this, but this is actually the Rushmore color from BrickWeb. And if you go to their website, there's several other colors that you can purchase. So there was the mounts, or the light switches I was telling you about. Looks really nice, flushed up. And obviously all the work around the fireplace, all the intricate work up there was really fun, but it was all worth it. It looks really nice. So in my other video, I told you to, if you have any questions, please let me know. I have no problem helping you guys out. I know this is a huge investment, especially if you did a wall this big. So I just hope this gave you guys the ability to go in with a little more confidence than I did going into it. And if BrickWeb is watching this, I expect some kind of cut or check in the mail, because this is going to help a lot of your folks, customers, put this wall up. So you should even put it on your website. So, all right, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Have a good one. Good luck. And when it's all done, hopefully yours looks really nice as well. So take care, guys.